What are the ways to get the scholarship in schools? Okay. Does the sports can also help in the
Ooh.
sponsorship? Do you believe that colleges will be shut down after 15 to 20 years?
We do not want anyone taking any private student loans in the United States. Those can be real trouble. People really struggle to pay these things back. We want to keep the loan debt as low as possible. The respect and love grows in the home because rather than a parent looking at a kid and saying, "What's wrong with you? Why aren't you better? Why aren't you doing better?" Instead, the parent's message becomes, "Oh my goodness, you have some abilities and strengths that are so unique."
Do you know that the average student in America graduates with nearly $38,000 in debt? That's not just a number, it's a barrier to a freedom, dreams, and the opportunities. But what if I told you there's a way to graduate completely debt free and still secure a thriving career? Sounds impossible, right? Well, today's guest has made it her mission to turn that impossible into a reality. Meet Jeannie Burlowski, a nationally recognized academic strategist, the best-selling author and the brains behind the groundbreaking book launch, How to Get Your Kids Through the College Debt-Free into a Jobs They Love Afterward. Jeannie has spent years helping students and families navigate the labyrinth of higher education, showing them how to achieve a success without crushing the weight of student loan. Her work has been featured in the Forbes, the Business Insider, and the Huffington Post, and she has been hailed one of the most practical, effective voices in education planning today. The Jeannie doesn't just give advice, she provides a step-by-step actionable plans that work for the families from every background. But what truly sets the Jeannie apart in her passion? She is not just about the saving dollars, she is about the creating the futures, helping students invest in themselves, avoid the financial pitfalls, and unlock their full potential. If you are a student, parent, or even just someone who believes in the power of education, this conversation could change the way you think about the college forever. So without the further ado, let's welcome the woman who is redefining what it means to succeed in higher education, Jeannie Burlowski. So hi Jeannie, welcome to Gupshupaurgyan. How are you today?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Yeah, even I'm happy and really excited about the students and the parents that I hope that all the questions that you're gonna give the answer for all the questions that I'm gonna ask, they will satisfied and they will have the more focus on the financial things about the debt-free college.
Yes, we have parents listening today who are bringing their students in, bringing their kids in to listen to this, because this idea of getting through college or job training debt free and then directly into a job the student loves, this is very attractive to families. So I'm glad we're having this conversation today.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. So my first questions to you. So what you gonna really want to achieve right now? So as you already have the book about the debt-free college, so what is your goal about the students or the parents?
Yeah, good question. So I am Jeannie Burlowski. I'm the author of the book Launch How to Get Your Kids Through College Debt Free and Into Jobs They Love Afterward. And this book is read by parents usually who have kids between the ages of 12 and 26.
Okay.
I would say the sweet spot is really between 12 and 18. And the book is set up in such a way where you just read about one chapter every 3 months as your kids are growing up. So there are some people that start reading a little chapter or a little reading assignment when their kids are prior to 7th grade in the United States. And there are some parents that don't jump in until they don't even find out about it until their kids are in 8th grade or 9th grade or 10th grade. And it's all designed so that you can jump in at any point along the way. The chapter headings, chapter titles are things like September of ninth grade, December of ninth grade, uh, December of 12th grade. And so anyone can just see exactly where they jump in and move forward from that point. And so here's my goal. You asked me what my goal is. I want to help as many people as possible to get their kids through college debt-free and into jobs they love afterward. And I do it by having this manual, this reference book on here's what you do at this point, here's what you do at this point. And parents like it because there's just a tiny little bit of direction that comes just every 3 months. And even busy people think, I can manage that. And at least, this is what we hope, at least if parents get busy, they'll say to themselves, well, at least I knew what I was supposed to be doing. At least I had the directions. I wasn't just floundering around lost.
Okay. So when you say about the people, that who are the main entity in the books, the children or the students or the parents?
Well, interesting question. The book was actually written to parents.
Okay.
And it's typically parents that buy the book and are walking through the steps. But really interesting to me, it got back to me after the book was published and released to the public that some students who didn't have parents, this would be kids in the United States who are in foster care, for example, or kids whose parents don't speak English, or kids who they just don't have parents that care to be involved in this process. It got back to me that the kids were getting hold of this book and walking through the steps for themselves. And when they had a question, they would find a trusted adult, like maybe a high school guidance counselor or a trusted teacher. And they would say, she's telling me to do this right now. I don't understand this word. And then the trusted adult would engage with the student. So that has happened, but that wasn't the original intention. And I would never want a parent to say, I'm not going to pay attention to this. I'm just going to hand off all the responsibility to the kid and tell him or her to do it by themselves. I don't advise that. I still want parents to be taking the lead, and then a student-parent partnership forms as they're moving forward on these easy-to-do steps bit by bit.
Okay, so as you said that there is a book between the age of 12 to 26. So do you mean that the 12-year-old kids can also understand this book?
Yes, 12-year-old students can understand this.
Okay.
But usually for 12-year-olds, they are concentrating on bicycles and skateboards, and they're not really thinking ahead to the college years. So when families have kids who are ages 12 to 15, at that point, it's pretty much the parents that are taking the lead. And the parents may say to a child, here, read pages 161 to 165. I think this is super interesting for you. And then a younger student will read that little chunk. But usually at that point, it's the parents taking the lead. And I actually like the parents to take the lead all the way until the kids are age 18. And the kids are kind of, the kids are there. They're paying attention, but it's the parents that are leading. And this is just because of where students are with brain development. Until a student is about 25 years old, their dorsolateral prefrontal cortex of their brain is not fully developed. And that's the part of the brain responsible for evaluating risk and planning for the future. And this is why sometimes good parents look at their smart kids and say, what were you thinking? Why were you not planning that out? Why are you not interested in planning this? And it's really because of a brain development thing. And it's because of this brain development issue that I recommend that parents take the lead on all the little steps that you want to take to get kids through college debt-free and into jobs they love afterward.
But don't you think that it could be the generation gap also, that the parents always wants to be a steady and the liable and the secure life. But right now, as you know, how the Gen Z people, right? They are just want to live life in the present. They doesn't want to think about the future. They even don't believe about to save money about that healthcare. They just want to spend $1,000 on the iPhone, and then they just want to post the on the Instagram or the Facebook. They just want to show online.
Well, let's talk about that.
Hmm.
It is true that parents of these kids who are currently between, they were born 1997 to 2012, the parents have been through financial hardship. They've been through difficulty. So they know how important it is to have investments and to have their health care taken care of. They know what it's like to have to make sure their house payment is made, or they know what it's like to struggle and sometimes not be able to put food on the table. And then they see their kids not being as careful about money, thinking that money flows out of a faucet somewhere. And sometimes there are heated conversations in the home where the parents are trying to say, I am worried about you. And the kids are trying to say, Dad, don't worry about me. I am completely fine. So I want to come at this from a very different angle. Rather than an argument about, oh, we should be careful about money. Oh, no, we don't have to be careful about money. I want to come at it from the angle of personal fulfillment. So no matter who you are, no matter where you live in the world, every one of us has this desire inside to be able to have a life lived with meaning and purpose. We would love to think that our time on this earth is going to contribute to something good happening on the earth. And even the most irresponsible kids, when they lay down to go to bed at night, they think about these things. Who am I? What am I here for? What am I going to contribute that is of value? And one of the key things that people love, that gives life great meaning and significance, is when you're able to find a job, a career, where it uses your talents, abilities, and gifts and strengths in such a way that it's exhilarating. Psychologists have a term for this, and it's called absorption, or sometimes it's called flow. Now, you may have felt this feeling, this magnificent, exhilarating feeling when you concentrated on something very difficult with great intentionality and focus, and you used all your talent and your ability to make something happen with great focus and concentration. It might have been playing a beautiful piano piece, or it might have been practicing a tennis backhand, or it might have been coding and doing a project that's related to software engineering. And you get up from your desk or your piano, or you come off of the tennis court at the end and say, that felt amazing. I feel like I could climb 3 mountains right now. I am so energized and so exhilarated. And there is no amount of social media or Instagram or iPhone use, or there's nothing that compares to that feeling of I used all my talent and I focused and I concentrated and I did something I'm proud of. Now, any student can get behind that. They'll say, that actually does sound really fun. And so one of the things I do in the work that I do in Launch, How to Get Your Kids Through College Debt-Free and into Jobs They Love Afterward, and in my tribe membership, which we'll talk about later, one of the things I do is help students to figure out where is this sweet spot where their talents and abilities and gifts and strengths are being used to the utmost extent. So if a student has real talent around communication or around something related to technology, we're actually able to recommend 3 career assessments that help a student between the ages of 15, well, I'll say 15 and up. There's no upper limit for this. Even old adults can do this. But starting at about the age of 15, I want students to take 3 career assessments. And I've got 3 specific ones in mind. And these career assessments give us vocabulary to understand the student's personality type, their interests based on a data-based inventory, their top 5 strengths based on Gallup research, which in the United States, Gallup research is the creme de la creme gold standard. We're able to figure out for an individual student ages 15 and up,
Okay.
or an adult, we're able to figure out what are your top 5 strengths based on Gallup research. And we figure this out, and then students have this vocabulary for understanding themselves. And when you say to that student, how would you like to develop that ability? What if we could send you to a place where you could take that natural talent you have and you could just get better and better and better at it? So that when you sit down to approach something with focus and concentration and you pour all of your talent into it, you get this exhilarating feeling on a regular basis. This is your life. This is what you do every day from 8 in the morning till 6 in the evening. Right. And then when people start to realize, I could do that, and I could also get paid a handsome paycheck and be valued at the workplace that I go to every day. You know, when that happens, suddenly working as a greeter at Walmart starts to lose its charm. And students who are saying, I think I will just work in a shop that sells coffee or tea, they start to see themselves in a different way. I'm actually wired for something different. And then it becomes exciting to do job training or to do college that develops those natural abilities. And I also like to say, doing that saves a tremendous amount of money on education costs.
Right.
Because students who have a sense of goal and they know where they're headed and they have a sense of destination and purpose, this is what I want to be doing based on data, not based on guessing. Those students are able to go through college or job training without one wasted dollar, without one wasted class. They go like an arrow straight toward a bullseye. And that pleases the students and it makes the parents very, very happy.
Yeah, I totally agree. But as you just touched the topic about the Walmart, so these are my personal questions to you. And these regarding to my family also. I saw many children over here, okay, who are recently migrated from India or from Mexico. Let's consider anything. What I found that they are just 12th pass, okay, they are just having even not a graduated, okay. What happened? They starting a job with the kind of a Walmart or Subway or somewhere else. After getting the money on their hand, they don't want to study more. Because they said ultimately that we are going to do the same thing. Why should I spend money, lots of money on my education? And after the educations, even I'm not getting that much of paid. Let's consider that if any person's having an education of the computer science, okay, and they have the fee around the 70,000 bucks. Okay, now after they paid all the amount or they complete the educations, their first salary is not even more than $70,000. Their mindset is thinking then why we should invest the money that much and the period of the money, right? The period that much of amount they have spent, $70,000. They didn't get anything. They just get the education, but even the paycheck they are getting, that is not enough. So how can you help them to create the mindset about the education and not having kind of do this labor job?
Good questions. So any student you've ever known, whether it's a niece or a nephew or one of your own children, you know, when they are between the ages of 12 and 26, they know so very little about the world.
Exactly.
They make some assumptions. They will decide in their head, and we call it foreclosing. This is where they will make a decision. They'll come to a conclusion that's not really true and it's not really based in reality, but they're convinced of it.
Exactly.
And so they'll say, why should I do all this school when I'm not going to make any money when I'm done anyway? Why should I do it?
Right.
And so I want to challenge parents who are listening here today to have some conversations with the student that take place outside of the house. And this is away from the hustle bustle of the household. So it could be as small a thing as out on a walk, out away from the house. Take some time and don't express, I'm speaking to the parent here, don't express fear or worry or any kind of prodding like you're not doing well enough or we're worried about you. But instead, turn the conversation to, here are things I admire about you. Here are things I see in you that I think are going to give you a bright future. And any child, no matter how angry a child it might be, no matter how contrary, no matter how resistant the child might be, everyone likes to hear their parents say, I see good in you, and I see talent in you. And I encourage parents to think ahead of time about what are some good things about this child and reflect back. Here's what I see in you. And I think you could actually have a career where you're going to work every day and you're doing something that you absolutely love, where the time seems to fly by. You look up at the clock and can't believe it's already 6 o'clock and your day has just flown by so fast. And then when you look down at your paycheck is more than you ever thought that it would be. And you're able to take care of your family, you're able to have shelter for your family, you're able to afford food. I see this in you. I think that you could really do something. And that's, the child might say, I don't believe you. No. They might push back, but they will not be able to stop thinking about that. When they lay down to go to bed at night, they will be thinking about, my father sees something in me. My mother sees something in me that could lead to a very, very bright future. And when parents have planted those seeds, and then when the parent says, I would like you to take 3 career assessments, they're recommended by Mrs. Burlowski in chapter 13 of the book Launch, How to Get Your Kids Through College Debt-Free and into Jobs They Love Afterward. I would like you to take these 3 career assessments. And if the child says, no, I refuse, I will not, I am resistant, I am contrary. Sometimes parents have said, I'll tell you what, we'll pay you to take those assessments. We'll pay you a certain amount of money to just cooperate and take these assessments just so that we can have some data. We want to know you better and get more information about you. And when the assessments come back and say, this particular student might be excellent in research, or a software engineer, or entering the military, or being an electrician, or working with a nonprofit that helps people to access healthcare. When the data comes back, the students' eyes will get very wide because they'll think, this sounds so much like me. This sounds like exactly what I might love to do. They're reading my mind. They're reading my heart. And why is the assessment able to do that? It's because it gathered data about the student by having them answer questions. And they're just reflecting back what the reality is to the student. So then let's say that the student says, oh, I don't want to be a software engineer. I could never make any money at being a software engineer. Well, if you're in the United States, if you happen to be, we have this wonderful organization called the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Okay. We call it BLS for short. And you can take any career and you can just Google it along with the letters BLS, and you will get to a beautiful page, beautifully laid out, tremendously clear, that tells you what the job outlook is for that particular career. What is that job going to be, big or small, in the next 10 years? It will tell you what people in that field tend to make for money. It will tell you what kind of training is typically necessary in order to get that job. And so by doing this, Googling the name of the career that's a good fit for the child, along with the letters BLS, we're able to have actual information that's much better than that foreclosing conclusion that the child came to. Working at Subway, making the sandwiches, saying, I will never be able to make any money, so why try? We're combating that with actual data. Does what I'm saying here, does this help?
Yes, yes, totally. But there is another thing that I have in mind. This is my personal belief. As right now, what are the providing educations to the student? I believe that in the future, after I'm talking about the 15 years, 20 years, I don't think so there won't be any colleges or anything. The people would be evaluated only by the skills, not through the education. What's your belief on that one? Because right now, as you know, how the era is changing everything, right? How the AI is changing the life. Even the software engineers, everyone is thinking that our job is gonna be in trouble. That maybe they're all the jobs gonna be vanished in a coming years. So everyone has to change the career in a certain amount of time. Let's say after 5 or 10 years. Even I'm thinking about sometimes that I have to change the career after the software engineers. I have to do something else. Do you believe that colleges will be shut down after 15 to 20 years and there will be the people only hired on the basis of skills only?
You know, this is so much like the discussions people were having at the advent of the printing press. Mm-hmm. When the printing press came and all of a sudden you could have books just printed and you didn't have to handwrite out copies of books. People looked at they had jobs working with parchment and calligraphy and writing out books and copying them by hand. And those people threw up their hands and said, oh no, the world is changing. My job is gone. There will be no more jobs.
Right.
There will be no more jobs in this world because of this terrible printing press. And actually what happened is that printing press was the doorway to a whole different world of all different kinds of all different kinds of jobs and all different kinds of endeavors and entrepreneurship and all different kinds of work for people. And AI is the same. It's not like AI is going to come in and start sitting at our desks and doing all our jobs. Instead, AI is like a printing press that's going to catapult us into being able to achieve things we never could have before. And you already know this. Software engineers are using AI to be able to do their work better and faster, which doesn't mean that the software engineers are all going home from work at 10 o'clock in the morning because they're done. What it means is their time is freed up for them to be able to approach their work with more depth and more creativity and more vision for how this could help the world. So your question about will colleges go away? There will always be some kind of training that transitions people from that point where they're 18 years old and they have no idea what they want to do to the point where they are a productive member of society. There will always be some kind of training. And maybe someday it won't be called college. Maybe more people will gravitate towards technical school. There may be extra kinds of training that we haven't even envisioned right now at this time. But there will be something that develops people so that they can transition from ages 18 to 22 and so that they can develop what's inside of them. And for the students, and I'm looking even at the ones who are 10 years from now, 20 years from now, for the students who have done the highest quality of personal assessments, and they have some understanding of who they are and what their talents are and their abilities and their gifts and their strengths, and they have some sense of I would be really probably very, very good at this particular job or this particular job. There will always be a number of choices for everybody. And that student will probably say, and wow, AI is really going to help me in this job that I want to do someday. But the human element will always be important. Simple AI all by itself will never replace the human element, the elements of empathy and compassion and creativity, and how do we apply all of how do we apply what AI can give us to the real lives of real people? To say that AI could possibly replace humans is like saying that a calculator will replace all mathematicians.
Right.
No, a calculator is a tool used by mathematicians that can make everything go faster so that they can use their time and their talent to envision and do bigger things than they ever thought of before. So will colleges go away? They may not exist in 20 years in the form that we're seeing them today, but there will always be something that helps with skill development. The transition from 18 to 22 or 25. And I personally am all about skill development right now. I don't really want students to just simply go to college and learn art history and never do anything with that degree. I want them to identify the bullseye on the target, which is what would I really be good at? And then they plot out, here are the classes I need to take to make me really good at that. And so it's always, in my mind, it's always about developing work-related skill so that when you get out in the workplace, you're actually able to produce and be valuable. And, you know, if somebody wants to take a few art history classes along the way, that's completely fine. But our goal is productivity in the real working world.
Right. But don't you think that AI can also make the students' skills like thinking skill? I'm talking about the thinking skill. They are gradually becoming down. For example, in the many places like in the China, in the USA, in the Ukraine also, right? Mostly schools are banned AI. So what happened that in one of the teachers has give the assignment on to write an essay on something. So they give the command to the AI and they just copy paste and give it to the teacher. And when our teacher asks that, did you copy from the AI? They say no. But when the teachers copied all that, whatever the essay into the AI and asked AI, is it your version of your text or not? They said yes. The AI said yes, it's my version. So don't you think that the thinking skill is going down on the basis of the because of the AI? Because that is also problem with the students also, right? For them it's kind of a tool only, but they doesn't know that tools can reduce the abilities to them also.
Right. So I hear you saying that students are using AI in schools, and so they're not doing the thinking for themselves, and so they're not developing themselves.
Exactly, yeah.
That is worrisome. So what we are really in sort of a new era with AI. And so the educational system around the world is scrambling to try to figure out how are we going to manage this. Just like many years ago, there were math classrooms that wondered, how are we going to manage calculators? The calculators are doing the work. I want to see the student write out the problems the long way by hand so I can see that they understand the thought process. And we worked through this with calculators, and we will work through this with AI. And things are going to change in how education is done so that students will not just become less and less and less able to think. And let me give you an example. So we know that writing is indicative of thinking. That if someone can really, they're grappling with a large subject, and then if they write it and they organize their thoughts and they express their thoughts well, we know that is telling to us. It reveals what the thinking was. And so we want people to continue to be able to think and then express themselves in writing. We don't want people to just put prompts into ChatGPT and then have it spit back something that sounds amazing. And so what is likely to happen in the future is there will be more proctored essay writing. And this is where you are responsible as a student to get information, and you have to learn it. And you have to bring it into a classroom where there's a strict person at the front and the door is locked, and you have no paper on your desk. You have no computer there. You have no calculator. You have only your own body sitting at the table. And someone gives you a paper notebook, or maybe it will be a computer that cannot access the internet. All you can do is type on a document like Microsoft Word, and you have to take your knowledge and answer an essay prompt. And the people who didn't study, the people who didn't learn anything, the people who didn't use the tool of the internet or AI or lectures from professors to be able to generate a big thought, those people are not going to succeed in that environment. They're probably going to they're probably going to have jobs and careers that are a little less exciting and a little less lucrative. But wow, the students who really are willing to learn, who are thriving in that learning environment, who are willing to put into their brain excellent information that will then come into that proctored essay writing environment, and then they express themselves in writing, those people are really going to shine. And I think that students are going to start to realize there's a bright future ahead for people who are actually willing to learn and produce. And there is less of a bright future for people who want to take the easy route every time. And when students start to see that, naturally, many of them will want to progress toward personal development and learning and growing and taking time and discipline to be able to develop themselves so that they can do more for the world. Look at it. Let's look at the last 50 years. There have always been people who said, I don't want to work. I don't care about money. I'm happy to just, I'm happy to just.
What they are doing.
I'll do, well, you know what? We really need restaurant workers. We need people who will work at the subway. We need people in all different kinds of life work. And maybe there will be robots making the Subway sandwiches, but there will still be necessary for some human interaction and some human impression on that process too. But even for the last 50 years, people could choose a route that's not a lot of work and doesn't make a lot of money. But you still see people who are choosing to study medicine, people who are going into research, people who are becoming nuclear physicists. You still see people who are taking the hard route and learning and growing and developing and contributing great things. The world will remain available for both of these kinds of people. And the educational system is going to adapt. It will. It's just kind of scrambling right now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so ultimately the people who doesn't want to do anything, ultimately they won't do anything in the future also.
Let's say that again, because that bears repeating. The people who don't want to do anything will not be doing anything.
Okay.
But here's what I have had, and this brings hope to parents who care so much about the kids. They birth these children, they love them, they want the best for them. Here's a piece of hope that when students are when they're empowered to see really how talented they are, when they're able to see a name their talents, abilities, gifts, strengths, their personality type, their top 5 strengths based on Gallup research, their interests, all ranked out on a big graph because they took an inventory called the Strong Interest Inventory. And I cover these all in chapter 13 of Launch, How to Get Your Kids Through College Debt-Free and Into Jobs They Love Afterward. I make it as clear as I can there. When students are exposed to that, sometimes their mind is opened. It's like blinded eyes start to see. It's like deaf ears start to open. And they start to see themselves in a different way. And rather than seeing themselves as the sandwich maker, they may start to see themselves as the person who builds houses, or the person who is bringing electricity into the city, or the person who is in the hospital doing physical therapy with grandparents who have bad knees. It's helping the students to see who they might be. And this career assessment process takes really a very short time. We don't ask people to take a whole year off and think about this and find themselves. It's really quite short and to the point. And I have found that I've talked to parents who told me, yeah, we read chapter 13 of that book you wrote, and we didn't do it. We just didn't do the career assessments. We didn't know anyone else who was doing them, so we just didn't do them. And to me, this is really heartbreaking because students who I see that don't do this process with the assessing, they will sometimes go off on a tangent, spend 2 years studying something they're really no good at. Or they'll spend 18 months studying something that they have no desire really to do.
Yeah.
What the assessments do is it puts us on a tight track. So we have set the goal and we're going straight there. Well, it's heartbreaking to me when people just say, yeah, we didn't do it. It seemed unusual. It seemed a little off the beaten path. People at our school weren't doing that, so we didn't do it either. And so I have such a passion for this that I have organized what's called my tribe membership. And this is where parents join a membership with me where they pay a very small amount of money per month, and they get to come to classes and live Q&A sessions with me just once a month. It's not a huge time commitment and it's not expensive. And one of the classes that I teach in that tribe membership, do it right when people come in, almost like the day after they join. It's called View from the Top of the Mountain. And what I do is give the biggest, best ways that students can get through college debt-free and into jobs they love afterward. You can imagine it takes a lot more explaining than we're able to cover in a small podcast of this length today.
Yeah.
And it's session 2 of that View from the Top of the Mountain class where I really light a fire under students and parents about these career assessments. And I'm able to talk about it at length, and people are filling out details on a handout. And wow, after people have that class from me, they run to do the career assessments. And at the end, when people reach the end of their time in my tribe membership, I always ask, what was it that you loved? What was transformative? What changed the life of your family? What changed the trajectory of your kid's life? And people so often say to me, it was that class that you taught about those career assessments. And when we finally did that, and our son or daughter knew what they were going to do based on data, not based on guessing, and then we were able to plot a straight path there, that's what made all the difference in the world.
Okay. So according to you, what is the best age for the career assessment? And what are the best ways, or from where they can do their career assessment? As you said, the Gallup. Apart from the Gallup, what are the other ways they can have the better career assessment?
Yes. So I hear you asking, when do people take the career assessments, and where do they find them? Where they find them to take them? So the optimal time, now I have to say, it's never too late. So if someone is listening today and they have a 26-year-old son or daughter that does not know what they want to do with their life, it's not too late. So don't be thrown by the age I'm about to give. I like for students to take these career assessments when they are age 15.
Okay.
Or as soon as possible after that.
Okay.
Now, the creators of the career assessments, the publishers, they want students to be minimum age 15 because they need a certain amount of vocabulary development to be able to understand the question. So they don't want kids 14 or younger taking these. So in Launch, how to get your kids through college debt-free and into jobs they love afterward, I described how the book is laid out according to your kid's current month and year in school. So if you're going to read this chapter called January of 10th grade, that's chapter 13. That's right when kids are about 15 years old. Okay. And that's right at the point where you open up that chapter, and right there at the top, it says January of 10th grade. And you start to read, and it is talking about the career assessments right there. So that is time frame. But plenty of people don't find me until their kids are 16 or 18 or 20 and so it's never too late. So as far as where you find these career assessments, the 3 career assessments I recommend are, number 1, and some parents are getting out paper to write this down. I want the Myers-Briggs type indicator. It's a career assessment inventory that's focused on personality type. Okay. So you may have heard of this. You may have done this at work at some point. This is the one where they tell you you're an ENFJ or you're an INTP, and you are able to actually label your personality type and dive in and gain greater understanding of who you are as an individual. And what this does is it reveals to us information about whether we get energy from being alone and thinking deep thoughts, or whether we like to be with other people and communicating, whether we like the world of ideas or we like the world of hard and fast things that you can see, smell, hear, taste, and touch with your senses. This Myers-Briggs type indicator helps us to understand, do we tend to solve problems through thinking or through feeling? Both of these are very valuable. And it's not like all the women are feelers and the men are thinkers. That is not true at all. Everyone has sort of a blend. And where do you major in how you use thinking and feeling to solve problems? You'll have data to explain that. Do you make decisions fast or slow? I'm a person that makes decisions fast. So I have to be really careful. I have to partner with people who make decisions slow so they can pull me back in, reel me in and say, I think we think more deeply about this. Fortunately, I'm married to someone who was constantly reeling me in and saying, let's slow down and let's really think this through. Yeah. So that's the first one, the Myers-Briggs type indicator. And it's very important. I want students to have the real one, the real gold standard Myers-Briggs type indicator, which is published by an organization called CPP. I do not want anyone taking free, fake inventories on Facebook. The stakes here are too high. Okay. I want the real thing. So that's one, the Myers-Briggs type indicator. The second career assessment I want is made by the same publisher. You can even get a report that reports both results at the same time. And it is called the Strong Interest Inventory. And here's how this one works. They will give a son or a daughter or an adult, they give you a series of statements and ask what you would prefer. And you rank it on a scale of 1 to 5. So it would say to me, I'm Jeannie Burlowski, it would say, how would you feel about public speaking on a stage where you're influencing people to do something? Put down a 1 if you would rather die than do that. Put down a 5 if you would absolutely love it. Put down a 3 if you're just completely neutral, and then fit in your 2 or your 4 if you're not quite that excited. And for me, of course, I would put in a 5. That's what I would absolutely love to do, talking and influencing people. But your son or daughter might get a statement that says, How would you feel about being alone for a whole day in a room where you fix machines? Now, for me, I would say that would be a no, I do not want to do that. If there are no people there, I'm not happy. But there are many people that would say, oh my goodness, that would be my dream job. I would love to do that. And there are, after many questions, it doesn't take all that long. It's I think it's under an hour to do this. They're able to produce a chart that shows you, here are your interests. And we're able to show you, you continually keep coming back to these interests. This is what you love. This is what you thrive on. And we're able to say to students, how would you like a career where you do that every day? And many students are saying, I think I don't want to make the sandwiches anymore. I think that actually sounds really, really exciting. I just never thought of it before. But here, these assessments were able to tease out of me, this is how you're wired. This is what you'd be good at. This is what you love. This is what you're interested in. Then the third career assessment is the strong interest inventory. No, the third one is the Strengths Finder assessment. Sometimes it's called the Clifton Strengths Assessment.
Okay.
And this is a great one for people to start with, because it is it's available for under $20. You essentially get a little book, and in the back of the book, there's a red envelope. You tear the red envelope out, and there's a code in there. They tell you, go online, put in this code. Don't ever get a used book, because it can only be used one time for one person. You go online to the website, you put in the code, and you answer the questions, and they respond to you immediately with your top 5 strengths based on Gallup research. And then in a very handy way, the book has a chapter on each of the strengths. So you can go straight to the chapter that is right who you are. My top 5 strengths based on Gallup research are strategic, achiever, maximizer, positivity, and belief. And boy, I always say, if you have strategic and achiever and maximizer at the same time, I feel sorry for you, because you will never sleep. This is a person whose brain is constantly
thinking.
going. But I was really careful to choose a career for myself that uses my strategic ability, my achieving ability, and my maximizing ability. And since we got a little, we've got a little time to talk here. I want to put in a little pitch for. I actually like for people to take the Strengths Finder. Sometimes it's called Clifton Strengths Assessment. And by the way, you get that from Gallup, Gallup. So you can go on the Gallup website, and that's where you order that. It's fun to know your top 5.
Yeah, I did for Gallup also. Gallup also around charging $20, right?
You're typically right around $20 to get your top 5.
Even I tried that one. I think about the last year. I just wanted to find my own strength.
Yes.
Yeah. I just wanted curious about that one.
Do you remember any of your strengths, any of your top 5?
So I'm not about the top 5. I just only think that I'm the good at analytic skills, and I'm the good counselor, about the relationship counselor.
Oh, isn't that an interesting combination? And I love to look at the combinations of how these strengths blend together. So here you are, the counselor, empathetic kind of a person.
Right.
Maybe you have some developer in you where you're able to look at a person and say, oh, here is your trouble and your problem. I am analytical. I can analyze that, and I can help you to figure out what's a path out.
Right.
Let's work on that together. Oh, it's wonderful. So I like for people to see their top 5, and they let you see that for $20. But what I really love is for anyone that can just pay the extra $59, they have an extra service where they will show you all your strengths in order.
Okay.
So they will show you, here's your top 5, and then you can see your top 10 right there. And And what's interesting is you actually really live out of your top 10. The reason they don't give you your top 10 right off the bat is they're trying not to overwhelm you. They figure 5 is enough for you to manage. But wow, when you see your top 10, you're actually your 6 through 10 are just as powerful inside of you as your 1 through 5. They're only off by like a fraction of a percent. So seeing your top 10 is phenomenal. But then I loved seeing all there's 34 basic human strengths in the general population, according to Gallup. And I loved seeing all of mine because I asked myself, I wonder where focus and discipline are for me. I need focus and discipline for the work I do. Where is that for me? And I realized, for me, focus and discipline are at 17 and 20. So they're not my biggest strengths. So I need to partner with someone else that has focus and discipline who kind of crack the whip over me. Or I need to say, hey, focus and discipline, we need you today. You got to step up here and play with the big boys.
Right.
I need you to expand and be strong in this situation. I was also really interested to look at my bottom strength. My bottom strength, this is number 34. This is the one I just really don't even have at all. And for me, my bottom strength is deliberative.
Okay.
And deliberative is the capacity to scout ahead for danger. To look ahead and figure out, okay, here's what's coming down the pike. Let's plan and analyze ahead to make everything really safe for everybody. I'm more of a jump and make decisions fast kind of person. So I need to partner with people who have deliberative on their strengths finder.
Right.
It's so funny. I gave birth to a young man. He's a young man now who has deliberative at number 2. How could he possibly be more different from me? And he sometimes says, Mom, I think you need to think that through a little bit more. And rather than me saying to him, you're so slow at making decisions. Why can't you be fast like me? I make decisions so fast. I get things done. I get more things done in a week than most people get done in a year. No, I don't say that to him. Instead, I look at him with great respect. And I say, I so value that you have this strength called deliberative. And this is so important to a person like me. I want to invite you into conversations because I need your perspective. So what we see is that students who have done these 3 career assessments at age 15 or as soon as possible after that, and the parents are aware of all these good things that are in their kids, that the respect and love grows in the home, because rather than a parent looking at a kid and saying, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you better? Why aren't you doing better? Instead, the parent's message becomes, oh my goodness, you have some abilities and strengths that are so unique, so special, really needed, things that I need, you have things in you that I don't have in me. And this is a powerful message for a student to be hearing. And when they hear enough of this, they tend to become a little less content making the sandwiches. Now, you might be wondering, where do we go to get these? What I care about is I want the career assessments to be converged. And that means we don't look at them in 3 separate buckets, but we look at them as, think about the lines on an asterisk coming together. We look at how they come together in that sweet spot in the middle where they're all blending. And this really takes a human touch. It really takes a person who's trained to say, oh, you have these strengths and you have this personality type. And oh, look, it blends so well with this interest that you have. And that's something that requires human interaction. And part of the reason something that will never be done by AI. It requires a human touch because part of that converging is looking at a student's history. So I had a young woman I was talking to. In the United States, people apply for scholarships to get college paid for. It's just a part of the story. And I help students to create one scholarship application essay that is killer, that is amazing, that would knock people off their chairs. And then I structure it in such a way students can use the same one over and over and over and over. So some students and parents who follow me, the kids apply for 50 scholarships, starting in 8th grade, going all the way through till they're done with medical school. They're doing this on a regular basis, and they can do a lot of scholarship applications because I teach them how to write one essay and crank it out, use it over and over and over with slight modifications. Okay. So I'm talking to this young woman, and it just became so clear that she would probably be really, really good at nursing. Okay. It was right at the top and of her strong interest inventory, but she also just loved communication, and she loved teaching people about things. And so I said to her, what about being a nurse that teaches people things? Like, there are nursing instructors at colleges that teach nursing. Or I said, have you ever known a person that had a medical problem that they needed some education to be able to overcome that medical problem? She thought about it, and she said, my grandfather was diagnosed with diabetes. And he went into a room with a nurse who was supposed to provide his diabetes education. Now, this is very serious. You don't take care of diabetes. This is life-threatening. And he didn't understand what she was saying. The grandfather didn't understand what this nurse educator was saying. And so he never did reduce his carbohydrate intake. He never did watch his blood sugar. He didn't test his blood sugar. He didn't take insulin appropriately. And the man died. This was a huge heartache to this girl. And when I knew that piece of her story, me as her caring human presence in this situation, and the reason I was there is I was helping her come up with the essay material she's going to write about. I said, what about if you were to be a diabetes educator, the kind of nurse? You're the nurse that takes people in the room and explains about what to do. And you care about them, and you ask reflective questions to see if they got it. And you provide handouts, and you check back with them to see how they're doing. You could actually save lives. And her eyes just filled with tears. She said, I would absolutely love to do that. And I said, okay, when you're writing your essay for a scholarship application essay you're going to use over and over again, let's tell them, open with a story about your grandfather, and then say, here's what I want to do with my life. I want to be a nurse that's specifically in diabetes education. And I'm a strong candidate for this for 4 main reasons. 1, 2, 3, 4. Every one of those reasons supported with evidence. Now, you see what I did there is I converged what she's naturally interested in, what fits with her personality type and her strengths. I converged it with her history, with her personal life story. That's something that AI would never be able to do.
Agree. Sometimes we need a spark to identify.
Yes, we need a spark. And this process in my mind, it's not complete without the caring person that brings it all together. Now, I am not certified to administer these career assessments and interpret them. I do meet with students who are, their families are in my tribe membership, and I talked about that. Those students can get access to me, and they can ask me to help them to frame up an essay that can be used over and over again. And they use them for medical school applications. They use them for college applications, scholarship applications, as I said. So I do that. But when it comes to doing the 3 career assessments and having them converged by a certified person, I refer out for that. And I can tell you the name of currently my favorite person that does this. Her name is Cindy Matson.
Okay.
And this is where I sent my own children to do this. Okay. And it was the best money I ever spent on my children in their entire lives. This is bar none. Okay. And my kids were able to, because of this converging of the career assessments with this very caring, talented person, my kids were able to set career goal and go straight like an arrow toward a bullseye. Graduated from college early, went directly into jobs that they loved. And there's nothing, as a parent, there's nothing like watching that. Knowing your child is doing something they're just built to do, wired to do, they love to do it. And of course, now I love the fact that my kids live on their own and pay all their own bills.
That's great news.
I'm going to tell you how to find Cindy Matson. Anybody listening here can go to my website, which is very easy to memorize and find. It's debtfreecollege.us. Can you see that whole picture there?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can.
So when you go to this website, I tell people, spend 30 seconds and find one thing to be curious about. It is very, very well laid out with everything that anybody would need for this process. And on the top in a tab, you'll see where it says approved consultants. These
Wow.
are people that I have vetted myself and I'm constantly growing this list of approved consultants. But you click on the approved consultants tab right on the top, you will see Cindy Matson as the #1 best, most prized, most approved consultant on the list. And I have to say, I get nothing for telling your listeners this.
Okay.
I purposely don't have any kind of kickback. I don't have any affiliate agreement and with Cindy Matson. And I do that on purpose because I don't want anyone to think, oh, Jeannie's being so excited about this because she's gonna make money off of it. I purposely don't make money off of it because I'm here to save kids' lives. I'm here to change generational wealth for the next 100 years.
Right.
I want to see people thrive and succeed. And I'm just convinced that this career assessing with a caring person like Cindy Matson is the key way to be able to do it.
Yeah, it's totally inspiring that at least you have the one person who can give the better idea that he is already past that level, right?
Yes.
Now,
And when Cindy Matson's schedule gets full, I trust her to refer out to other people. So
Right.
it's not like there's only one person in the whole world that does this.
yeah,
But she's the person I would like people to go through because she can handle the most complicated situations.
Mm.
So I feel very confident that she can handle complexity. And that's the first place to go.
right. Now, as we talk about the scholarship, so can you just tell the audience that what are the ways to get the scholarship in schools?
Yes. So we have all different kinds of listeners to this podcast.
Right.
You have people all over the world that listen here, and there are some that are inside the United States, and there are some listeners that are outside the United States. And so I specialize in the United States.
Yeah.
So when it comes to scholarships and finding free money to help pay for college, I am mostly for in the United States. Now, in countries that have a scholarship system similar to the United States, I sure can speak to that. So here's how this works. Typically, in many places, the government will offer some money for college. In the
Okay.
United States, students find money for college from the government through what's called the FAFSA form. It's the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, FAFSA.
Okay.
And don't jump to the conclusion that you can't get any money out of this FAFSA form if your parent is an immigrant or doesn't have a social security number, or if you are you have other challenges. It's worth a try to try, and you can find information about this form by Googling my last name, which is Burlowski, and the words FAFSA news. And I'm going to just say that again because people are wondering about it. And it can be very confusing. And a lot of the information on the internet about the FAFSA form is contradictory. It's wrong. It's old. This FAFSA form in the United States changed in 2023, changed drastically. So to find up to the minute accurate information on this, families can go to Google Burlowski and FAFSA news, and you'll get right to an article I wrote that explains everything. It explains it very well. Okay. So we're talking about how to find money for college. And the first thing is that see if the government will give you any money. See if there's some form you can fill out to try to get some free money from the government. In the United States, the FAFSA form is the doorway to any free money that would be provided by the government.
Okay.
Now, it's never going to cover everything. Oh, it's seldom going to cover everything. And in the United States, I'm sad to say that the government is covering less and less of people's education. That privilege is slipping away. Not completely. I still want people to access as much of that government money as they can. But now more and more students are moving towards adding on to the government money with private scholarships. So here's how a private scholarship would work. Let's say that there's a large company. I'm just going to, off the top of my head, I'm going to say Samsung, a large company like United Healthcare, or let's say an organization that has is over all the electricians in a certain geographical area. They may say that for tax reasons, it's helpful for them to give some money away. There's some practical reason why they want to give the money away. And they would like to give some money away to help a student.
Okay.
And so what they do is they make scholarships available. And essentially think of it this way. They say, hey, we have a scholarship available. Fill out this form, write an essay that tells us about who you are. And then we might give you $1,000 for your education, or we might give you $50,000 for your education.
Okay.
Now, it is really worth it for students to apply for scholarships, but I will confide in you that it's hard for students to write all these essays. It's a pain. Students don't like it. And that's why I teach families in my tribe membership how to write one scholarship application essay and use it over and over again. And then students can actually sit with me one-on-one where I help them frame up exactly what they're going to say.
Okay.
So the key in applying for scholarships is numbers. You want to apply for as many as possible. But to be really honest with you, students are easily overwhelmed by this process. They don't know. Do I Google?
Exactly, yeah.
And that doesn't make any sense. If 100,000 people are Googling, give me a scholarship, that's going to be, the competition there is going to be very, very tight. You need better ways to find scholarships to apply for. And I personally think the adult brain is very well suited to finding scholarships. So I encourage parents to be the scout that finds scholarship for the student to apply for and then says, hey, maybe this one. Maybe you could try this one. All you have to do is fill out the form and Mrs. Burlowski can help you write the essay and you can use it over and over. And so to make this easier for parents, I have an article that's publicly available and it's called 1.5 million places to look for scholarships. And what I have done is over all these years that I've been an academic strategist, I have collected all the best places for people to find scholarships to apply for. So I'm not going to recommend some kind of scammy website that's going to steal information or is going to give you a bunch of ads or be cluttery or confusing or have scholarships that are out of date, that are expired. I'm going to give you the scholarship platforms that are the most solid, the best. You can think of a scholarship platform as it's like a website where they want to give you a bunch of scholarships to apply for.
Okay.
There are a large number of them. There's Scholarships 360 and there's many different ones. And so to find this free article that I make publicly available, people just Google my last name, which is Burlowski, and the words 1.5 million.
Okay.
1.5 million. And you'll get right to this article called 1.5 million places to apply for scholarships.
Okay. Does the sports can also help in the
Ooh.
sponsorship scholarship?
I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing. I am not in favor of a sports scholarship.
Okay.
And
Mostly
there are a
that
number of
people are
reasons.
going in the sports, that's why.
There are a number of reasons. Some
Yeah.
parents are putting their kids in sports from the time they're 5 years old, thinking that this kid, I saw him throw a ball in kindergarten, and this kid is going to be a pitcher.
Okay.
Sports scholarships are not a reliable way to get
Okay.
money for college.
Okay.
It would be a better option, honestly, to become a rock musician.
Hmm.
You know how hard that would be? Yeah. That would be easier probably than getting a sports scholarship that would pay for your college. And I've been doing academic strategy for 25 years. And so I've seen students try everything you can think of. And what is sad about a sports scholarship is that it can so interfere with your studying that you don't have the time or the space or the bandwidth to be able to do what college is supposed to do. It's supposed to develop you and build your skills and build your talents and abilities and gifts and strengths so you can have a wonderful job that you absolutely love, that gives you a sense of exhilarating flow and absorption. But too often people on sports scholarships are told things like this: oh, don't go to your organic chemistry final. We have a game that day.
Hmm.
And then the student will say, I'm pre-med. I have to go to my organic chemistry final. And I've actually seen this happen. And the coach will say, well, if you're not committed to your sport, you're off the team. And once you're off the team, then you get a big bill in the mail that says due now, and they pull your scholarship.
Oh.
You have to pay it. You have to pay it. It's frightening. And by the time you see how many hours students have to put in the weight room,
Okay.
and practices twice a day, and at games, and traveling in vans and airplanes to go to tournaments, once you see how many hours they're spending, and then you take the amount of the sports scholarship and divide it by that number of hours, you may find that the student's actually only getting a value of $5 an hour. And they would be better off working at the sandwich shop during college and saving that money to pay tuition. The other concern I have with sports scholarship is repetitive stress injury.
Right.
So they have your kid is 19 years old and his body is not yet fully developed, and they have him out there pitching practices 2 times a day. And so a student can get a lifelong repetitive stress injury, or worse, a head injury from a concussion from football. And they have this terrible injury that follows them for life. And that injury disqualifies them from playing. And so then they get booted off the team. They lose their sports scholarship. They get the scary letter that says due now.
Yeah, it happens to my friend's daughter also.
Oh, it happened to your friend's daughter. Oh,
Yeah.
so sorry. Well, for parents who are wondering about this, because we're talking here today to some parents who actually were counting on a sports scholarship for their kid.
Yeah.
They've been investing thousands and thousands of dollars in traveling teams and going to expensive places to play, and the child is only 12. For those parents, I have an article that I've written that's publicly available, and you can find it by Googling my last name, which is Burlowski, and sports scholarships. And my article is called The Sweaty Truth About Sports Scholarships.
Okay.
And for anyone who ever forgets to spell my name, because I keep how to spell it, I keep saying, Google Burlowski, sports. If you just go to debtfreecollege.us, there you'll see my face at the top, and you'll see you'll see how to spell my name there.
Yeah.
It'll make it easy to remember.
Yeah.
Now, did we lose a thread? Was there something that we were talking about that we didn't wrap up here? Oh, I know. You said to me about scholarships.
Yeah.
So I said, I'd like the parents, if possible, to find them. But we have plenty of students who don't have parents, or the parents aren't involved or don't care. And so many students who follow me do this by themselves.
Okay.
You Google Burlowski 1.5
5 million.
And there you'll see my article. All it is an article. It's not overwhelming. It's kind of a review of places to look to find scholarships. And once you find one, I tell people just apply for one. And students can apply as early as 8th grade. They can apply for scholarships in 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. They can apply in the freshman year of college, sophomore, junior, senior year of college. They can apply all the way through graduate school and medical school. There is no year where you can't apply for a scholarship. And this is important to know because in some schools, they tell kids, oh, you apply for scholarships in your senior year of high school. And I actually tell students not to apply during the senior year of high school. They're too stressed. They've got too much going on. They're too scatterbrained at that point in life. I would rather see students apply before that time and after that time. And I tell students to shoot for just try 10 each year. Pick out, get adult help, find 10. Apply for 10 each year. And some students who follow me, they have applied for 70 scholarships at the time they're a senior in college. And just it's a little bit of a numbers game. The more you apply for, the more you're going to get, especially if you have a killer, fantastic essay that you can put in any scholarship application that really convinces people.
Agree. So, now my next question is a practical question. Okay. Now let's talk about, I'm a father of two and a half old girl. Okay. Now I want to invest the money for my daughter for the future education. So what are the best strategies that you can recommend it for her better futures, for the better higher education?
So I hear you saying that what's the best way to invest money for a child's future education?
Exactly.
Can I ask you, can you tell me in general how old your children are?
3 years old.
Oh, okay. So toddlers.
Yeah,
okay.
toddlers.
So it's different in different parts of the world. So we got people listening from all over the world, but I can speak to in the United States. In the United States, we have a savings vehicle, an investment vehicle called a 529 college savings plan.
Okay.
And this allows you to invest money and watch it grow. And then all the terms are really as favorable as possible. And then it does not very much impede applying for that free financial aid money from the government when the child gets to be in the United States 17 or 18 years old. So I encourage parents to go to a financial advisor, a financial advising professional. This might be in the United States, it's an accountant or it's a financial planner, and say, I would like to set up a 529 college savings plan for each of my children. You got 2 kids, you do one for each of them. And did you say you have a boy and a girl?
I have a girl.
You have 2 girls?
One girl only.
Oh, you have 1 girl only. Okay.
Yeah.
So you would say, I want to set up, let me say there's a family that has 3 children. They would set up 3 529 college savings plans, one for each child. And one child is the beneficiary of the first one. The second child is the beneficiary of the second one, etc. And then parents, through the years, starting, we hope as early as possible, take a modest amount of money every month and put it into this 529 college savings plan and watch it grow. It's tax advantaged. It is just really designed for this purpose. And for parents who wonder, and this is specifically United States parents, they'll wonder, ooh, if I save money for college, then does that mean my child doesn't get the free money when they get to be 17 or 18 years old? And the system is really designed so that everything works very well together. And when people who are in the United States go to my FAFSA news article, they Google Burlowski and the words FAFSA news, they'll see me in there talking about 529 college savings plans.
Okay.
and about how that works together with applying for the free money from the government.
Hmm.
So that's the most recommended way. Now, there are some people that decide they're very interested in investing.
Hmm.
They love to look at it. They're not the kind of people that just want to set it and forget it.
Hmm.
So for people who just love investing, what some people do is open an investment account,
Hmm.
just start investing, putting a little bit of money in there every month
Okay.
and investing that money and watching it grow and using that for college.
Okay.
Uh, Probably the 529 college savings plan is more typical, it's more common, it's more foolproof, and it dovetails nicely with the applying for we call it financial aid, the free money for college that comes from the government in the United States. Does that answer your question?
Yes, but does that include the inflation ratio also? Because doesn't right now the fees we have, but after 20 years it will be the more higher, right?
Right. So, the what we see typically is that what's happening with the 529 college savings plan, because it's tax advantaged,
Hmm.
it grows at greater than the rate of inflation, far greater. You will be shocked at the money that you put in when she's 3 and what that looks like when she's 18 years old.
Hmm.
And you're still working with investments. The money that you put in there is invested. It's just in this plan
Hmm.
where everybody knows you're saving this for college. And so we want you to do that.
Hmm.
So you enjoy lots of tax advantages while you're doing that. And
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend it if I thought it wasn't going to keep up with inflation.
Okay. I'm also talking about the people. I'm the parents who are not have the habit of to save money, right?
Yeah.
So what are the advice that you want to give to that parent?
Yes. So I hear you saying, what about parents who they're not thinking about saving money? The
Yeah.
parents are the kind of people that just get a paycheck and spend the whole thing and don't set aside anything.
Hmm.
There is such value and excitement and joy in a family living beneath their means. And what I mean is, if a family can live on just 80 to 90% of their paycheck by being clever, by making it fun, by cooking meals at home, by doing whatever possible to be frugal. It could be living in a smaller house, driving a car that's not as fancy,
Yeah.
doing whatever possible to live below the level of the paycheck.
Hmm.
Then automatically take 10 to 20% of the paycheck that you're not going to need for food or shelter or transportation, because you're living frugally, you're on a mission to live frugally. Take that money and put it in some sort of a savings or investment.
Hmm.
And it could be in a 529 college savings plan. However, I really want parents to take care of planning for their own retirement first. And I know I'm speaking mainly to the United States here, but parents who are in their 30s and 40s and 50s right now, there is going to come a point where you can no longer work.
Hmm.
And in the United States, we have had Social Security, but even in the best years, Social Security has never been enough to give anyone a really good, rich, full, abundant kind of a life.
Correct.
And so it is up to parents to plan for their own retirement and to save for their children's college. So what I recommend is that people make a game of it. Make it fun. How frugal can we be? I'm just come up with a crazy example. Instead of buying cleaning solution that we need for spraying off the stove and the countertops, instead of buying that, could we go online and find a recipe for making it out of vinegar, baking soda, and lemon juice? Well, and then the dad holds up this bottle and says, "Do you realize that a 24-ounce bottle of cleaning solution at the store costs $6? I made this for 33 cents. And it becomes
And that
a
was already at home.
yes. It's all from things I had already in the cupboard.
Yeah.
It becomes a joyful game to what can we do to live below our means.
Right.
And families will get to a point where they say, I don't care if I drive a car with a dent in it.
Mm.
I don't care. My kids are going to have a magnificent future. I'm going to have a retirement someday where I'm able to travel, where I'm able to afford my health care. It's actually an exciting choice. So live frugally, live beneath the means, take 10 to 20% and put it first. The first thing has got to be in retirement planning. And I am not a financial advisor. I am not an accountant or a person who helps people with financial advising, but I want people to go to someone as early as possible. I'm telling you, my kids are in their early 20s and they already have investment accounts and are putting money aside for retirement, and they watch it grow and feel very excited about it.
Mm.
So what you can do is go to one that is a fiduciary. Fiduciary is very important. You can Google, what is a fiduciary? And what that will be is it's a person who works based on your best interests.
Okay.
They look at your individual situation and they say, we recommend that for you, this is where the plans you set up, this is the retirement funding that you do. We want to maximize anything that's coming from your employer. And they have your best interests at heart. They are not trying to sell you a product.
Okay. Yeah, mostly financial advisors are doing that one. They want to sell their own product through which they are getting the commission.
I'm not going to say most financial advisors do that. Certainly some financial advisors are out to sell a product. Yeah. They may try to sell you a life insurance product. They may try to sell you an annuity and say that it's going to help with college planning. It is not a good idea. Exactly. What you want is a financial advising professional that is a fiduciary, that they are bound by their license, that they have to do what's best for you and not just try to sell you on some sort of a product.
Okay.
So this is life-changing. This is life-changing for parents. Parents, we want you to plan for your own retirement so that when you're old, you can take care of yourself. If you need to have someone change your diapers, you can hire somebody to do it instead of your daughter having to do it while she's struggling to raise her 3 children and put them through college.
Right.
So it's a huge act of love for a family, for the parents to plan for their own retirement and start putting money into that bit by bit. And when that is handled, at that point, then a family can say, okay, let's start putting some money into college savings. We've got we got kind of on a good path for retirement. Now let's think about saving for college. And one key piece of this is that we want people to have an emergency fund. And so I don't want someone to spend their bank account down to zero. I just don't want that to ever happen. So parents might strive to have an emergency fund of $1,500 to $2,000 that's just liquid and it's available. Okay. Just in case you crack your tooth on a popcorn kernel or the air conditioning goes out. Or you need a new refrigerator. You don't have to put it on a credit card. You can just get the money from yourself, from your own emergency fund. And so what some families do is before they start planning for retirement, before they start saving for college, they start funding their emergency fund. And it might just be, all we can do is put in $50 a month into our emergency fund. That's all we can handle. Even with the greatest levels of frugality, we're going to put $50 a month into our own emergency fund. And once we have funded that, then we are going to move towards funding retirement with the help of a financial advisor. Then we'll go to college savings.
Okay. So parents start investing now.
And, I guess this discussion would not be complete without me talking about getting out of debt. Because if people are in debt, that's sometimes what's eating up their whole paycheck. High interest credit card debt or a car loan or something that they're having to make payments on every month. That's what's keeping people from having an emergency fund or investing in retirement or saving for college. And so getting out of debt does not have to be that difficult. I had a friend who she and her husband paid off $60,000 in debt just by being kind of strategic about it. Little by little, she said it didn't even put a crimp in our lifestyle. But wow, did our paychecks seem to change when we no longer had to make all these payments and pay all kinds of interest for jet skis that we purchased or other things, medical debt that we had. And so I know I'm giving your listeners a lot of articles here, but I have an article that I've written specifically for people who are in debt, who'd actually like to move toward building wealth. It's just a little article. It's fast and easy to read, and it's called 4 Amazingly Easy Ways to Get Out of Debt. And I got my phone here. I am Googling my last name, which is Burlowski. Amazingly Easy Ways. I'm going to Google that. And here is right there, top result on Google. There's videos at the top, ignore those.
Right, yeah.
Top result on Google is JeannieBurlowski.com, 4 Amazingly Easy Ways to Get Out of Debt. I'm going to click on that. And this has helped so many people because it is truly so easy that a person who doesn't even have a high school education can do this. And here's the article, 4 Amazingly Easy Ways to Get Out of Debt. They're so easy they can fit on a Post-it note. And there I have a picture of a Post-it note there. So first the emergency fund, then the getting out of debt. And I'm so glad you asked these questions because we're changing lives for parents by talking about these
That's
things.
why I want to cover all the topics related to the students and the parents also.
Yes.
So my next question is regarding the students who are just going to enter into the college world. Okay, so after 12th. So how they give, how they get the loan? It's better to get the loan, or how they gone debt-free college after 12th? What are the best strategy for them to get the debt-free college rather than taking the loan, the private loan or the federal loan?
Oh, we do not want anyone taking any private student loans in the United States. Those can be real trouble.
But so as what the data says, the private loan are the most loan in the US right now.
Oh, it's terrible. So I hear you saying for students who are in 12th grade, they're headed for college. Correct. What can they do to be debt free where everyone around them is taking out loans? Right. They're going to financial aid information sessions at the high school where the people at the front are just acting like everybody takes out loans. It'll be easy to pay them back. No, it won't. People really, really struggle to pay these things back. We want to keep the loan debt as low as possible so that when this child graduates from college and they get a job, they actually have enough money to be able to pay their rent and buy groceries and travel and have a car to drive and all the things that they dream of. So this messaging that we hear, even at the high school, everybody gets loans. It's not true. Not everybody's getting loans. Some people are being much more strategic about this than that. And I've had students, because a lot of students follow me. They subscribe to my free email newsletter, which anyone can subscribe to that at debtfreecollege.us. It's really easy to subscribe there. Students tell me, everyone around me, all my friends, and even my parents' friends, saying to me, everyone gets loans. And kids have said to me, Jeannie, you were the only person telling me we don't have to get loans. We can be more strategic than that.
Okay.
And I know you're asking me to kind of capsulize in 30 seconds here. What can people do to avoid loans? Well, it's not that simple. It's a series of steps and strategies over a long period of time
Hmm.
Some of them, some strategies can be done real fast. For example, students get a job when you're in college, not just anywhere, get a job that offers tuition reimbursement. And this is a United States thing, where if students work for Wells Fargo or Ann Taylor or Gap or Starbucks or any one of many, many different companies, they'll work there and they'll get a paycheck. And yeah, they are making some sandwiches or they're making coffee. They're working at the Apple Genius bar. That's one. They're getting their little paycheck, and then the company is reimbursing their tuition at the rate of $5,000 or more a year.
Okay.
For some students, this can be $20,000 in free college money. And this is something that can be done fast. Students are going to apply for jobs at UPS. They work part-time for UPS, and UPS, this is the package delivery system that's all over the world. The people in the brown trucks and the brown uniforms, it's everywhere. UPS offers generous tuition reimbursement. So this is one strategy that I can give you that's fast to do.
Okay.
And speaking of UPS, I have an article that I wrote that is publicly available, and it's called Why Students Run to Work at UPS. And it actually has the link in there for how to apply for a job at UPS. Anyone can find it by Googling my last name, which is Burlowski, and the words run to work at UPS. And then you'll see an article, Why Students Run to Work at UPS. Okay. So there are a few strategies that can be done fast, but really for best results, what I want parents to do is start right now. For however old that kid is right now, don't worry about what you haven't done. Don't worry if your child is 16 years old and you seem to miss some steps that Mrs. Burlowski wanted you to take between the ages of 12 and 15. Don't even worry about it. Just start right where you are right now and just get a little reading assignment once every 3 months. And just do some little steps that will take you toward that glorious moment when the child walks across their college graduation stage and they are 100% debt-free and they have a job offer in hand. It's a process. It's not something that's just a little thing I can explain in 30 seconds. People join my tribe membership because they're going to take a series of classes from me where I really explain these things in depth. Now, to start, I know people are listening to this and saying, okay, this pathway is going to be worth it. She's not offering anything that's terribly expensive. This is not going to take a lot of time. It's like read something every 3 months. I think I can handle that. So parents are going to be wondering, what's the first step with her? How do I get started? And so I've been talking about my website right at the top, big red box. I have 3 videos that are just easy, fast-paced 10-minute training videos based on the age of your kid. So there's one there for parents who've got kids in 7th and 8th grade. And that's the one that you should watch, even though your children are really little. There's another video right there, very easy to find, big red box, for parents whose kids are in 9th and 10th grade. And there's a third video for parents whose kids are currently right now in 11th and 12th. And fast-paced, and it's me explaining and saying, okay, for your family, here's how to get started right now. Here's exactly what to do. And it's going to say, get a copy of this book, jump in right where you are, read the chapter labeled with your kid's current month and year in school, and this is how I will be able to explain to you. The video will also say, please subscribe to my free email newsletter that comes out on a regular basis, because that's where I'm able to give all the most current, up-to-date information.
Correct.
So when the FAFSA form changed in the United States in 2023, all of my followers they read that religiously. They read it every single time it comes out, first thing in the morning. All of my followers understood all the FAFSA changes the first week they happened. And it's because of this newsletter that I can keep everybody up to date with what is most current. A book can only be just so current.
Okay.
And my book is, the information in my book is current and valuable, but I want people to have up to the minute information. And so this will encourage people to subscribe to my email newsletter, and it's free. And so many parents and students both subscribe, and then they have conversations about it. Like in the United States, taking college classes in 11th and 12th grade is really a great idea. It counts for college credit and high school credit at the same time. I'm going to be talking about that in the free newsletter that comes out. I think it's coming out on the last Monday in January. It's coming out January 27th, 2025. Parents and students can both read that and then talk about it.
It's every month or every week?
Currently, at this time, it comes out every week.
Okay.
Currently, it's every Monday morning. And we're recording this in January of 2025. And that could change in years to come or something. But currently, it's every week, every Monday morning. It is so valuable and it's free. And one thing I recommend is that parents get it, read it, and then tell friends and family members, no matter where they are in the world. You need to subscribe to this. It's free, because the more support you have from your community, from your friends and family, the more people who are on the same page, they're telling your kids, yeah, we're working towards debt-free college. That's what we're doing. The more you're building a culture around you of, this is what we're aiming at. We're different from the rest of the people that are just going to take out expensive loans and have $900 a month student loan payments after graduation. We are not going that route. The more you build that culture around you by having a whole bunch of people reading and talking about that newsletter, and there's always a helpful article in it every time it comes out, that helps spur people on to success.
But do you believe that does your book cover all the strategies that is the same strategies also happening after the 10 years?
So do I understand you to say, does your book cover all the strategies that are still going to be in use 10 years from now?
Yes.
Well, the good thing about writing a book is that it's pretty easy to come out with a new edition.
Okay.
Oh, there's a famous book called What Color is Your Parachute that people have been using for figuring out career. And I think they have a new version come out every year, which is great for the author. He's a real old guy now, but people rebuy his book every year. I don't do that, but I'm able to update this book.
Okay.
And I am actually in the process of doing book updates right now during this 3-month period of time. Everyone's still going according to the pattern that I have laid out in the book launch, How to Get Your Kids Through College Debt-Free and Into Jobs They Love Afterward. We are all still working on the steps together that are laid out in that book. And if you're wondering about how I keep things updated, it's possible to go to jeannieburlowski.com/launch, and you're able to see book updates. And it's where I enter in I enter there links where people can see updates to different chapters.
Okay.
I know everyone's going to remember to do this because every chapter in Launch has a checklist at the end of it. It's just a summary of everything I said in that chapter. And the bottom thing on the bottom, it always is, go check my book updates and see if there's an update to this chapter. And that's how I keep us all on the same page marching forward.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's talk about the government data. Right now, the student loan debt is increased to $1.75 trillion. And the Biden government also tried to forgive that student loan. Do you believe that government should start this kind of thing to forgive the loan, and that much of amount, more than 70% of government money that is in the student loan? What is your thought on that?
So I hear you asking, student loan debt is so ridiculously high. It's higher than card debt and medical debt. It's terrible. And we have students who they can't can't afford apartments because they made poor choices about student loan debt, and they have such high loan payments that they're just they're handcuffed. They're suffocated by student loan debt. So you're asking me, do I think that it should be forgiven?
Yeah.
And there's a little complexity here. In the United States, um, I will to explain this, I will say I have posted a video on my website that is really entertaining. It's called "How Did Student Loans Get So Evil?"
Right.
And it explains the pathway of how the government started out with student loans and then handed it over to an organization called Sally Mae. And that's when everything really started to go crazy. They tried to privatize a big part of this. Okay, so anyone can find that video by just Googling my last name, which is Burlowski, and the words, the word evil. I think if you Google Burlowski evil, you'll get to this article, and right there is this video. It's actually a TV episode from a TV show called Adam Ruins Everything.
Okay.
And it's where he explains this, and he does such a good job of explaining how we got ourselves in this position. So I wish it were as easy as the student took out loans and they knew what they were doing, and the interest rates they're paying are reasonable and they should pay them back. I wish it were that simple. But actually, it's not that simple. There have actually been large for-profit companies that have profited greatly from charging students exorbitant amounts of interest that just piles up and piles up. We have some students who paid faithfully on their student loans. They expected that they were going to be able to pay them off in 10 years by paying a modest amount every month, always on time. And the interest, which they didn't realize this was going to happen, the interest on that thing piled up and piled up and piled up in what I believe is really an unfair way. I think they were taking advantage of these kids. And I have a problem with that, because these kids are our future. These are the kids that we need to be doctors in hospitals, and we need them to be running technology companies, and we need them to be able to be the best they can be. I don't appreciate companies that have enriched themselves by laying arduous, suffocating amounts of student loan interest on the backs of these kids. So, do I wish that the student loan debt could be forgiven? Yeah, especially where it's terribly unfair, where there was usurious interest placed on these kids. I wish it could be forgiven, but it cannot all be forgiven. And it cannot be, because it is so huge. And it's such a massive problem, and it's not sustainable.
Exactly.
For us to just keep letting people run up student loan debt, let corporations that are for-profit corporations take all kinds of benefit from interest money, and then kids be stuck paying for this until some of them are paying until they're 50 years old, and they have payment plans that stretch out 25 years.
Wow.
They're trying to put their own kids in college. They're trying to take care of their aging parents. And they're still paying on their student loans. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. I wish it could be forgiven. It is not going to be forgiven. But what we can do, and this is what has happened a little bit in the United States, they've tried to, the government has tried to parse out who are people that were treated super unfairly.
Okay.
I mean, really bad, really terrible. I'll give you an example. They went to a for-profit college. We advise students to stay away from any college that is a for-profit college. You can figure out whether it's for-profit by going to collegedata.com. You may have to get an account there, but you can search any college and get information about that college all laid out in a standardized way. You can see if a college is for-profit. So some students went to for-profit colleges that just encouraged them to take all kinds of student loan debt. Oh, go ahead. You'll be able to pay it back. It'll be so easy. And then they gave these kids a substandard education. They promised that they would help the child to become a veterinary assistant, and it didn't even work. Didn't even help. They couldn't even get a job. They didn't even have the skills after taking out all these loans and spending all this money. And then the college closed in the middle of the students' experience. And those credits were worth nothing. They couldn't transfer those credits to some reputable institution. Now, those students were treated unfairly. That borders on criminal. Those loans should be forgiven. And to a large extent, to some extent, many of those loans were forgiven. And what's really glorious and wonderful is that when we do see some student loan debt forgiven, it helps the economy tremendously.
Yeah.
Why? Because those students, they're able to buy houses. They're able to purchase more education for themselves.
Right.
They're able to increase consumer spending. It helps. It gives a tremendous boost to the economy when student loan debt is forgiven. But it can't all be forgiven. It won't all be forgiven. I'm sad to say. It's really up to parents and other caring adults to love individual kids enough that we say, for you, in your situation, let's get you through college debt-free and into a job you love afterward. There are people in this world that are doing it.
Right.
You may think from what you heard at your high school that everybody gets student loans. Let's not do that for you. Let's let you be among the few and the privileged. And we say privileged because no matter your income level, you're privileged if you're on a path toward debt-free college and career.
Better, yeah.
Let's do everything we can to keep you from having to take out one single student loan. And then guess what? If worse comes to worse and you do have to take out a student loan, well, that's okay. Just make it a goal that you're going to pay it off by your college graduation day. Maybe by applying for scholarships using one scholarship application essay that you can use over and over again.
Correct.
Let's just get you as close to debt free as we possibly can. If you got to take out a loan, you pay a little bit of money every month, even while you're in college, and pay that thing off. So the goal is you walk across the stage at your college graduation completely debt free with a job offer in hand. And this can change the trajectory of your family life for generations.
Totally agree. So my next question is about the federal versus private loan. So what are the key difference, especially certain interest rate, the repayment options, and the forgiveness program?
Boy, you are really getting into this. I can see you're analytical on the Strengths Finder. What are the different kinds of loans? Okay. The best kind of loan, if you have to get a loan, and we're really talking United States specific here. If you have to get a loan, you want it to be a federal direct student loan that you can only get from filling out the FAFSA financial aid form. FAFSA, FAFSA. To learn more about the FAFSA, Google Burlowski and the word FAFSA, and you'll get to where as succinctly as I could, I provide all the most current information. So you fill out the FAFSA form, and the FAFSA form will help local colleges that you might be interested in attending, help them to figure out how can we meet your need. We have a sense of what your need is. We know we can tell your family has this much money, but college costs this much. How can we help you fill in that gap? And they're going to give you some grants, probably. And grants are just free money that does not need to ever be paid back. That's what we love. But they're also going to say, you could take out some loans too. Well, we're going to be strategic and try not to take those loans out.
Yeah.
But you have to get a loan. You want it to be the federal direct student loan that only comes from the FAFSA form. Okay. This is a special loan that's backed by the government. It has the best loan repayment terms, and it is the only kind that has any potential for forgiveness in the future.
Okay.
It's got the best terms. It's got the best interest. It's got forbearance if you go on to graduate school and you can't pay on those loans for a while. Although I recommend people do keep paying at all times if possible. So that's what we want, the federal direct student loans. This is why it really scares me when people say, oh, we're not filling out the FAFSA form. We make too much money. We're not going to get anything anyway.
Yeah.
You don't know that. You may be leaving free money on the table. And besides, if at any point your child decides to go behind your back and take out a student loan, I want it to be a federal direct student loan that only comes through the FAFSA form. So I want parents filling that out, even if they make $200,000 or they make 7 figures. I still want people filling out that FAFSA form. I have an article called Why You Should Fill Out the FAFSA Form Even If You're Rich. And if you Google Burlowski rich, you'll get right straight to that article. So those are if you have to get a loan, that's the one you want. The one you don't want. You do not want a private student loan that's given out by a bank or some other sort of financial institution. These are the ones that are not going to be forgiven. These are the ones that the interest rates are going to be high. The repayment terms are going to be arduous and difficult and painful. And consider this, parents listening here. What if, unfortunately, your child dies in a car accident or gets colon cancer and dies? The private student loans will hound you to your grave to pay off all those loans for your child that has passed away. We do not want your grief to be compounded by having to pay these usurious, arduous student loans where many times it was corporations enjoying the profitability of piling the kid full of extra interest. And then they're going to keep coming back to you for the money until you die because they can, because we don't want that to happen. So with federal direct student loans, there's a death and disbursement clause in those. And so if you have a federal direct student loan and your son or daughter is unfortunately deceased, you don't have to pay them back, which to me, it's merciful. It's fair. It's good. I don't want parents with that kind of grief to have to be paying and paying and paying. Now, we may have some parents listening here in the United States and their child has already taken out some private student loans and they wonder, oh no, what can I do about that death thing? Well, you can contact the private student loan company and you can ask, is there a death and disbursement clause in here where I don't have to pay this if my child dies? And they say, no, you got to pay all the way through. You may actually be able to refinance that and put it into some sort of a loan program that's better, easier, more merciful for your family. And for parents who their kids do have student loan debt, or we even have people listening here today who have student loan debt themselves. They're 50 years old and they're still paying on it. You can use the strategies in that article I showed you about amazingly easy ways to get out of debt. You can use those strategies to start paying down your student loans. There's no rule that says you have to pay the minimum on those. Some students who've graduated with college with student loan debt, they have said, I'm going to make a goal. I'm going to pay it all off in 3 years. I've calculated how much do I have to pay per month to pay this all off in 3 years so I can be free of this indentured servitude to student loans. And they said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just live with my grandma. And I'll help make her meals and do her shopping and make sure she has someone to pick her up if she falls in the bathtub. I'm going to live with my grandma rent free if she will allow that, if it'll help her. And I'm going to work 3 jobs and I'm going to live frugally and I'm going to put every single thing I can into paying these loans off so I can be free.
Right. Even when I was in the undergraduate, I took a loan about 200K. That's about the Indian rupees. But it took me around the 7 years to complete to pay off.
Well, I'm so glad it took you only 7 years. I mean, I wish it would have taken you 3 years, or I wish you would have never gotten it in the first place.
Yeah,
7 years is very good compared to some people who are getting payment plans that stretch it out for 25.
right.
That's what is very scary.
Yeah. So I'm just wrapping up the call. I'm just have the basic questions. So what are the best advice to give parents for the best investing for the future education for the kids?
Well, I hear you saying, what's the best advice for investing for the future for their kids? And we have talked a little bit about this, about getting a parent's own money straight first.
Hmm.
The emergency fund, and then setting up retirement, and then saving for college. We talked about that in a 529 college savings plan. We talked about that. But I want to come back around to, for most parents, the most important goal of their life is to see their children thriving.
Okay.
They want to see their kids working jobs they love. They want to see their kids using their talents, abilities, gifts, and strengths with great focus and concentration, and having joy and absorption and flow in their work. Most parents want to see their kids not living in their basements. Parents want to see their kids living in their own homes, maybe raising their own families, for sure paying their own bills.
Yeah.
Parents want to see their kids contributing to their own retirement. They want to see their kids excited about their own retirement savings and saving money in a Roth IRA if they're in the United States. This is what really matters to parents. In many ways, often it matters more to parents than their own health.
Right.
And so for parents who really want to reach this goal, there is so much information on the internet. It would just be exhausting. It would take you 5 lifetimes to figure out everything the internet says about saving money on college, or saving money for college, or being debt-free, or getting a job.
Yeah.
It would be exhausting to find that. What you need to find a caring person who's already done the scouting, who can say, don't worry about this. Don't worry about this. Focus on this. Concentrate on this. Let's set a goal, and let's have a community of people that are getting there together. And that's really what I am doing at debtfreecollege.us. People who go here and they just watch one free, fast 10-minute training video based on the age of their kid, and then just start on this path where here's all you're doing. Reading a newsletter every Monday morning for free. That can take 30 seconds.
30 seconds, yeah.
And then getting a book, getting a book that has the clear directions in it, and just reading a chapter, a little reading assignment every month as the kids are growing up, starting wherever the kids are right now and going until you drop them off at the dormitory room door. And parents who are doing this little process tell me they feel so encouraged because they always know what their next step is. They're not having to wander and Google and flounder and wonder if the information that they're getting is reliable. They just get a reading assignment and they do it, and they know, here's exactly what would be good for me to know and think about right now. The age my kid is at right now. I might not choose to do it.
Right.
I might not do it, but at least I can't say that I didn't know. And sometimes people tell me they read their little reading assignment and they go, that actually sounds really exciting. Let's get the family together and talk about it. Let's actually do that. That could be amazing. And it actually lights a fire of excitement rather than just drudgery. And here's something we're obligated to do. I like that excitement and that motivation to be a part of the story. One reason people subscribe to my free email newsletter is that the reading assignments are all written down on the left side.
Okay.
We got this whole community of people and they're all doing their reading assignments. But it says right there, read pages 226 to 229. And this is your reading assignment for this month. So that get the newsletter, watch a video here, the big red box. Get the newsletter, walk through the steps in the book, And then I really, really recommend for parents who are serious about this, my tribe membership. You'll see a section on my tribe membership when you get to debtfreecollege.us. This is where you're not a lone ranger trying to do it on your own, but you're with a community of people. And when you have a question, when you're reading in the book, or you find something online, or you hear something from a guidance counselor at a school that sounds a little iffy, you're actually able to meet with me on a monthly basis and ask any question that you can think of. And I mean, what kind of book is it where you have access to the author to ask your individual questions? That's what the tribe membership provides. And it's typically for people in the United States, but anyone, anywhere in the world can join it. And it is only like roughly $35 a month. The amount of money that people can save just with one of the ideas that we talk about there far eclipses the tiny little fee for being in the tribe membership. And all that information is all at
Yeah.
debtfreecollege.us.
And what are the my last questions? What are the best books that you can recommend for the students to read?
Or for students to read.
Right.
Okay. There is a book that has a very boring cover. I'm going to recommend two books. They're not very well marketed, and they look boring. But wow, the information in there is a gold mine. And they're by Cal Newport.
Okay.
Now, Cal Newport was a student at Dartmouth, and he became very interested in why some students at Ivy League schools seemed like they could achieve what they never studied. They were in rock bands, and they're leading the American Red Cross on the college campus. Seems like they never studied. But when he got to the Phi Beta Kappa induction, which is for people who have got the highest GPAs on the campus, he was shocked to find these people there. They were Phi Beta Kappa, and it seemed like they never studied because they're so visible. They weren't locked in the library all the time. And he became interested in why how are these people doing this? And so he first wrote a book called How to Win at College. And it looks boring, but his ideas in there are genius. And then he has a book called How to Be a Straight A Student. I love those books.
Okay.
And sometimes students aren't really wanting to pick up a nonfiction book and read it themselves. If the parent will get the book and start reading it and then say, just casually to the kid, have you ever heard this idea about spaced repetition of review when you're trying to learn something? Or a parent will casually say to a student, have you ever heard this idea about use your first hour of the day for your most intense, most difficult academic work? And the kids will start to get pulled in by these cool ideas,
Right.
and then pick the book up for themselves. So those are two books I recommend. And then for people who are in my tribe membership, one of the crown jewels of the tribe membership is I teach a class. It comes out twice each year inside the tribe, and it's called The Strategic College Student: How to Get Higher Grades While Studying Less Than Most Other People. And that really pulls the kids in. And students take this class. I mean, I have 12-year-olds who are in there who are learning to be, I want to be strategic and intense about academics so I can make middle school easier for myself. And I want to make myself successful in the future. This class is a half-day seminar, and it's very, very, very expensive for people who are not my tribe members, but it's free twice each year for people who are in my tribe membership. And what I've done is I've taken these Cal Newport strategies from these books, and I've taken other strategies from some researchers that were they were researching at Carnegie Mellon University on how college students could study the least amount and get the highest grades possible. I took that data and I put it all into this engaging half-day seminar. And a lot of students say that was the most life-changing thing I did for them. I made their studying easier, so they felt confident about taking college classes in 11th grade that counted for college classes and high school classes at the same time. And that can end up saving them massive amounts of money on college costs. So that is a very popular thing I have that the students love. And it makes it so the students don't necessarily have to read those books.
Okay. Yeah, this really sound interesting. And thank you so much for coming. It was really wonderful conversations. Today my thoughts are really booms out.
Good.
Yeah, actually I really now started investing something for my daughter. I hope the parents is also thinking about the same thing as I do. Thank you so much and having a wonderful conversations. See you next later.
Thank you. It's been great to be here, and I wish best wishes to all of your followers and your listeners. Bye-bye.
Thank you.